You're watching The Real Story. I'm Laurie Perez. Governor Malloy has big plans for the short session. He started the 2012 legislative term this week with a State of the State address making ambitious proposals to create jobs and reform education. The governor told lawmakers that Connecticut has passed through the crucible of a financial crisis, and now is the time to be bold and build not just an economic recovery, but a revival. Governor Malloy is not one to mince words, and today made some blunt comments about the need for tenure reform, saying teachers should have to earn and re-earn tenure by meeting performance standards, including parent and peer reviews.
To earn that tenure, that job security in today's systems, basically the only thing you have to do is show up for 4 years. Do that, and tenure is yours. The bottom line, today tenure is too easy to get and too hard to take away.
The governor's $128 million education reform package also proposes giving more of the state's educational cost-sharing money to problem schools, increasing access to preschools, and spending $13 million on recruiting and developing teachers, including having one-on-one coaching in classrooms. On the goals, there is consensus.
His education initiatives are exciting. I think it took a lot of guts on the governor to say some of the things he did. He's going to have the full support of, I know, my side of the aisle, certainly here in the House.
The questions come regarding funding for other proposals, including one to pay more now into the state worker pension fund, a move that might improve how credit rating agencies view the state's liability. The governor has said he needs $123 million for the contribution next year, and Republicans have already been asking where it'll come from. Beyond that, though, the midterm budget adjustments do not include any new taxes. They do spend $330 million more than originally budgeted. Budget Chief Ben Barnes says it'll be covered by a projected surplus and $120 million in spending cuts. Again, the parties don't see eye to eye on the numbers.
This is an administration that told us that the people had to sacrifice the largest tax increase in history, and because of their sacrifice, our fiscal problems would be solved. Now they're telling us we have a deficit. We can argue over how much the deficit is, but we have a deficit, and that's a big problem.
He pledged for a balanced budget. We're going to have a balanced budget at the end of the fiscal year. So we're going to be able to invest in education, especially training for the workers that need it to fill the jobs in our economy, and we're going to do it within a balanced budget.
Laurie Perez, Fox Connecticut News. We have assembled a great roundtable to help break down the session. Keith Phaneuf from the Connecticut Mirror joins us. Christine Stuart is here from ctnewsjunkie.com. And thanks to Senator Andrew Roraback and Representative Matt Lesser. Thanks all of you for coming today. I know it's a busy time. You know, I guess if we could start off with both of you. First of all, just giving a general overview of what your hopes are of what might be accomplished this session.
Well, I think Wednesday, on opening day, Governor Malloy really hit it out of the park. He articulated three main goals for the legislative session. One is righting our fiscal house. Two is making sure that we're making a loud and clear signal that Connecticut is open for business. And then the third is righting our educational system, is fixing education in the state. And I think Governor Malloy did all three, and doing so without raising taxes is important.
Senator?
I just wish that the governor's speaking skills are very, very good. I just wish his budgeting skills came close to his speaking skills, because it's not what you say, it's what the reality is. And the reality is this state still is confronting enormous fiscal challenges. The fiscal year we're now in, we're still running a deficit. So it was disappointing to me that the governor proposes to spend an additional $300 million in the next fiscal year when we're running a deficit in the current fiscal year. We had already budgeted in a $300 million increase when the budget passed last year, so now we're talking about a $600 million increase at a time when few have confidence that Connecticut's economy has fully recovered.
What about those concerns?
Well, I think we need a little perspective here. 3 years ago when I was first sworn in, we faced an $8.5 billion budget deficit. Last year, actually, when Governor Malloy took office, we had a $2.3 billion budget deficit. Now, the Office of Fiscal Analysis, the Office of Policy and Management don't agree exactly on the number, but either way, the number is really very small. The largest number that you accept the largest number, it's only 6% of what we were dealing with last year, and we're projecting to deal with that very quickly, be in the black, and we will stand by our obligation to balance the state's budget.
Keith or Christine?
I mean, you know, I guess Senator Roraback, you know, you were critical last year of the Malloy administration for building in a surplus. But now you're critical again of them this year for using that surplus. So could you kind of explain that?
Sure. I mean, I was critical of them for engaging in budget making that lacked integrity. And I think the evidence of that is they said there would be a surplus in this fiscal year, and notwithstanding that they said they had built in a surplus, we're still looking at a deficit. And this against the backdrop of the largest tax increase this state has ever experienced. So even with the largest tax increase in our state's history, we still can't balance the books. And what's the governor's answer in this budget? Let's spend even more money next year. Fred Carstensen at UConn says revenues are expected to grow at about 2.5% or 2.25%. This budget increases spending by 3.2%. The numbers don't add up, and I'm fearful that a year from now we're going to be sitting in the exact same situation, facing another deficit, because this legislature and this governor has shown no political will to reduce spending to bring our fiscal house in order.
Let me go back to something Representative Lester said. He said there were three basic prongs to the governor's proposal, and the first and foremost was getting the fiscal house in order. I agree this year's deficit or surplus, it's small either way. I'm curious if Democrats are concerned, though, because the governor's own numbers show that 1 year after his proposed budget is potentially enacted, it's $423 million in the red. That's not 1%. That's actually twice the level that requires the governor to file an emergency spending reduction plan. So he's not counting on the economy getting better. He's counting on the economy getting better than he's already assumed it's going to grow. Does that worry you at all? I mean, he says right now he would have to cut $600 million out of his budget 1 year after its adoption based on the current economy. Are you worried that the commitments you're making are going to be reneged 1 year later?
No, absolutely not. And I think the sign is that Connecticut's economy is already turning around. So even if you do $400 million, that's still a tiny fraction of what we saw just a year ago when we had a $2.3 billion budget deficit. The fact is the governor and the legislature were responsible. We cut spending. We consolidated state agencies. We took a lot of the tough decisions that other states put off doing. And so that's why states like New York have much tougher decisions that they're making this year than we have. And I got to say, the sign, the proof is in the pudding. Connecticut's economy is turning around. Our unemployment rate is a full percentage point less than where it was just a year ago. You know, every sign says that companies are coming to the state. We're going to grow our way out of this economic situation that we're in. We're going to be adding jobs, and that's the way that we're going to turn our way around.
Follow, if I can. The amount of money the governor says he potentially has to cut is more new money than he's putting in. If the economy doesn't recover, again, as fast as he needs it to, you think taxes will be on the table a year from now to keep the commitments?
Well, I don't know. I haven't spoken to the governor about this, but I do know.
Your caucus.
Sure. No, I think where we are right now is we're confident that we've already taken the tough steps in order to make sure that we have enough revenue, and that that the economy is going to continue to improve, and that we're going to have increasingly better revenue forecast as the economy turns around.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a quick break and come back and continue our discussion about the session coming up after this.